Everyone counts in our neighborhood. Everyone here is a neighbor. You count too. Yes, you count too. Come on, neighbor. Everyone counts in Vermillion, yes. Everyone counts in the census. You count too. Yes, you count too.
Mr. Nate?
Well, hello, Chuck Coyote.
Do I count in the census?
Of course you do, Chuck. You're living in Vermillion on April 1st. You're a neighbor. You count.
But I'm a full-time student.
Still, you count.
But I rent an apartment.
Still a neighbor. You still count.
G'day, mate. What about me? I'm on a student visa.
Our international friends all count too.
Fair dinkum?
But my parents in Brookings still claim me on their taxes.
Still, Chuck, you count.
But...
Listen here, little buddy. You still count here, and every person we miss is like $1,600 less in federal funding for this community, and that hurts people and puppets alike. So, just take this iPad, go to census.gov on March 19th, and fill it out. Everyone counts in our neighborhood. Everyone here is a neighbor. You count too. Yes, you count too. Be a good neighbor and fill out your census, friends.
Seven o'clock, time for our regularly scheduled meeting. Mike, would you please call the roll?
Collier-Wise.
Here.
Helwig. Holland. Here. Humphrey. Price.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Ward. Here. Wilson. Here. Mayor Powell.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 are the minutes for February 18th noon and February 18th regular meeting. Motion and a second to approve the minutes of both times. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4, adoption of the agenda. John or Mike, any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Move the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as printed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5, visitors to be heard. Addressing the council. Persons addressing the council shall use the microphone at the podium. Please raise your hand to be recognized, go to the podium, and state your name and address. For items that are not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. For agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there's unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. This evening, we have a proclamation, and if I could have Kelsey please read it.
Proclamation recognizing Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Whereas individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families, friends, neighbors, and coworkers encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all people. And whereas the most effective way to increase this awareness is through everyone's active participation in community activities and the openness to learn and acknowledge each individual's contribution. And whereas opportunities for citizens with intellectual and developmental disabilities to function as independently and productively as possible must be fostered in our community. And whereas we encourage all citizens to support opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in our community, including full access to education, housing, employment, and recreation activities. And whereas individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities deserve nothing less. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the governing body of the City of Vermillion, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2020 as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Vermillion, South Dakota, and call upon residents of this great city to join in observing this month by hosting and supporting initiatives and activities that support and promote providing employment opportunities for people with disabilities. Dated at Vermillion, South Dakota, the 2nd day of March 2020.
Thank you. We have someone come up and accept the proclamation.
You can go first. So my name is Nick Oyen, Executive Director of CESDAC. My address is 30396 466th Avenue, Beersford, South Dakota. I hope that's okay. Really briefly, I just want to say thank you. This is National Disability Awareness Month, and I appreciate all the support this city has always provided for that. And I'm going to turn it over to James Brown to say thank you for all of us.
On behalf of myself, CESDAC, and the City of Vermillion, thank you for your support and making awareness for National Disability Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, public hearings. Item A, a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Vermillion Area Chamber of Commerce and Development Company on or about April 2, 2020 at the Sanford Coyote Sports Center main competition court and concourse at 1101 North Dakota Street for annual banquet. And Mike, please.
The special daily malt beverage and wine license application was received. It was continued at last meeting at the request of the VCDC and phone call I received from them late today, asked if it could be continued until the March 16th meeting so they can work out some issues with the license. So if the council would be willing to do that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Motion and a second to continue until March 16th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, we have none, so we'll move to new business. And item A is the annual library report. And Dan, please.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the time on your agenda tonight to present our annual report. As many of you know from previous years, South Dakota state law requires that all public libraries in South Dakota submit an annual report to their governing body in the state library. The purpose to ensure the gathering of comparable data that's used both in the state and at the national level. Visiting libraries remains the most common cultural activity Americans engage in by far, above going to movies, attending live sporting events, and attending live music and theaters. Libraries are visited by over 1.3 billion times a year, which is 10 times more than those who visit MLB, NFL, NBA, hockey, and NASCAR all combined. In South Dakota, in 2018, public libraries were visited by 3.8 million times, an average of 5 visits per resident. South Dakota public libraries circulated 5.8 million physical and digital items and hosted more than 17,000 programs across the state. Our annual report was completed and accepted by the Library Board of Trustees at our February 20th meeting, and I'm not going to go over the whole report right now as you will have it in your packet. And also included in your packet, there was an infographic, which is a useful one-page summary of the key data, a useful overview of the data that was submitted to the state library. But just a few highlights. In 2019, our public library received 85,500 visitors, checked out over 60,000 books, checked out over 18,000 DVDs, and saw the use of over 10,000 electronic materials. The library hosted 1,391 programs that were attended by over 15,500 participants. While our program attendance was down just 4% over the year before, our total collection use was up by 3.5%. We saw a 27% increase in the electronic resource usage, such as ebooks and downloadable audiobooks, and a 48% increase in the use of our other electronic resources. 2019 was also the time to renew our 3-year accreditation under the public library standards outlined by the state library, and we were again able to renew our accreditation at the highest level of the 3 tiers labeled as exemplary, which the state library lists as the library providing the highest level of service. I'd like to thank you all for the time you took reviewing our annual report, and we would request that the council please acknowledge receipt of our annual report so we can submit it to the state library. And as always, I'm happy to answer any questions any council members may have now or at any time in the future.
Thank you, Dan. Council, any comments or questions?
I move we acknowledge receipt of the annual report from the library. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to receive the annual library report. Any comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Item B, Home Rule Charter Committee appointments. We had, turns out, 6 applicants for 5 positions, and I'd like to announce the 5 members: Michael Card, Matt Fairholm, Stacy Larson, Travis Otelier, and A.J. Franken. And I've asked Mike Card to chair it, and then the liaison from the council, I've asked Steve Ward to do that for us. So that's my recommendation to the council. A motion is second to approve the listed charter committee appointments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. I'm looking forward to their work. Item C, a request to close North Pine Street from East Cedar Street to the end of the Alpha Phi House South property line for Alpha Phi Sorority Recruitment Bid Day on August 20th, 2020. And James, please.
Thank you. The Alpha Phi sorority has requested the closure of North Pine from East Cedar to the south end of the property line of the house at 707 East Cedar. This closure is for their bid day recruitment party. The street closure is requested on Thursday, August 20th, 2020 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The application and diagram have been reviewed by the street department, police, fire, and EMS departments as well. There's a diagram included in your packet. And no concerns have been raised about the proposed plan. Cleanup will be handled immediately by Alpha Phi, and the street will be cleared immediately. Alpha Phi's organizer will be meeting with neighbors to notify them of the street closure prior to tonight's meeting. And an Alpha Phi representative is present in the crowd tonight to answer any questions you might have. This street closure is the same as it's been since 2017, and there have been no issues with this closure, and it's for that reason that administration recommends that the City Council approve the temporary closure of North Pine from East Cedar to the south property line of the Alpha Phi House from 8 to 3 on Thursday, August 20th, 2020 for recruitment bid day.
Thank you, James. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Seeing none, council? Motion and second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item D, 2019 unaudited annual report. Mike, please.
I think either annual report was included electronically or a hard copy. If anybody would want another hard copy, I do have them. It's required by state law to be presented to the City Council by the first regular meeting in May. We've tried, in the past, it was required to be done by the first meeting in March, and getting the annual report done earlier gives time to complete the rest of the comprehensive annual financial report and allows time for the auditors to begin some of their review before they come on site, which is scheduled for the end of April. Report is unaudited, contains only the financial sections. There are introductory management discussion analysis, footnotes, statistical section of the comprehensive annual report will be completed before the audit. Williams and Company has been contracted with to do the audit, and they'll be in here in April and June. Cover just a little bit of the annual report. I've included an extra couple page section dealing with more information about each individual one, but exhibits 1 and 2 contained on pages 5 and 7 kind of show the government-wide financial position of the city. The city assets are a little over $14 million. We've got about $26 million in liabilities, leaving $88 million of equity or net position. This would be like your stockholders' equity if this was a for-profit business. In the last year, the city added a little over $2 million to its net position. The statement of activities on page 7 shows our governmental activities, shows expenses, charges for goods and services, operating and capital grants, the costs of doing business offset by the revenues. Showing in the governmental activities, we made a little over $500,000 in our enterprise or business type activities, being our utilities, had a change in net position of just a little under $1.5 million. This would be what you'd look at as your net income if this was for business, a little over $2 million. We also list the component unit of the housing authority in the far right-hand column there. The rest of the information is the individual fund financial statements. We do a comparison of budget and actual for the major funds, which would be our general fund and our second penny sales tax fund. For the year in our general fund, our revenues were $59,000 under budget. Our expenses were $359,000 under budget. Coming down where we budgeted to use $310,000 of our general fund reserves, and we actually were $17,000 to the good. So that's looking at a picture of everything December 31st. There was items that didn't get done during the year that will continue over to the next year. Prentice Park had a bathroom project. There were some bike path expenditures, other items that were budgeted for that didn't happen. So same with the library. We need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the report. We'll file notice with the Department of Legislative Audit. There's some of the information contained in the report needs to be published in the official newspaper, and that's the state requirement. If there are any questions, I'd cover. If there's something when you're looking at it later you got questions on, don't hesitate to holler. We'll most likely have the auditor sometime here in June or July with presenting the audit report.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on this question? Turn it to the council. Tom?
I have a question, if you don't mind, Mike. This comes up with a number of people doing annual reports. Is there something better than a certificate of deposit these days as far as any interest goes? I don't know if you want to comment on that or not. It's just something we've always done, no matter what the interest rate was.
Well, their state statute requires that we have our investments in securities that are backed by the federal government. So you'd have to, we've got some of our bond reserves that are held by third parties or in treasury notes. Depending on what the interest rates are, what the market rates is, you either buy them at a premium or discount, and they'll provide you some interest earnings for that time period. Since them are bond reserves, they're money that we're not looking to need until the final payment is done, so we've done some of them. But the state statute requires them to be backed by the federal government, so it restricts what we can actually go out and buy.
So CD interest rates remain low.
Yep, I can't argue with that.
No. Okay, I appreciate that, because the question arises among other organizations as well. So I move acknowledgement of receipt of this report.
We have a motion and a second to acknowledge receipt of the report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Mike. Item E, consultant agreement with SEH for the final report on the South Dakota Highway 50 Drainage Improvements Project. And Jose, please.
Thank you. Since 2017, the city has been working with SEH and the DOT to come up with a solution that would improve drainage along the south ditch of South Dakota Highway 50. The January 20, 2020 noon meeting, the city, after a presentation by staff, the city council directed staff to contact SEH to see if they would be willing to enter into an agreement with the city to complete the final report and provide the South Dakota DOT with the design information required for the construction documents needed for the construction of the improvements. The agreement with SEH, which is in front of you, requires that that they provide the city with a final report that would size the proposed improvements appropriately. The city's costs will be at the most $42,790. This cost includes the work to delineate any possible wetlands and submit any required permits to the state or to the Corps. If the wetlands do not need to be delineated and permitting is not required, the total cost to the city would be at the most $33,414. I should mention that the agreement itself was reviewed by the city attorney. And so it went back and forth between the city attorney and SEH until what's in front of you was agreed on. In conclusion, staff recommends allowing the city manager to enter into an agreement on behalf of the city with SEH for engineering services to complete the final report design of the South Dakota Highway 50 drainage improvements project.
Thanks, Jose. Comments or questions? Council? Rich?
Jose, is that drainage ditch considered a wetland?
Some of it is, yes. It's actually considered a linear wetland, and it depends on the vegetation and the animal life, I guess, that you might have on the wetland. But it actually has to be delineated, and somebody comes from the Corps and looks at it and sees if it's a wetland or not.
But we're actually proposing to put a pipe beneath that, so we wouldn't disturb the wetland, would we?
Yes, it would be disturbed. It would be the
Disturbed,
wetland.
but then it'd come back right away.
No, because one of the plans that the DOT is actually asking us to look at is putting not a drain tile, but inlets throughout the ditch to actually drain the ditch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tom?
Thank you. And as you know, I've brought the wetland question up time and time again.
Sure.
And even sent pictures of ducks.
Okay.
I mean, I've lived here a long time, and to me, it's a wetland. Okay. On page 1 of the agreement, of the master agreement, in the third paragraph, it talks about optional exhibits that might be attached to the SLA, like A1. It talks about hourly payments and lump sum payments. Do we have any idea what those amount to? Or is that something we negotiate with these people?
You're talking about the actual master agreement on Agreement 1? With all the general conditions that are followed?
It's headed Master Agreement for Professional Service. It'd be the third paragraph.
Yep, okay, so what that means is essentially these first 3 pages, the general conditions and the master agreement, and the following one, the signature page, form that just a master agreement with SCH. So every single time from now on that we have a project with SCH, we would be doing the supplemental letter agreements, and the supplemental letter agreements would be the amendments to this document itself. So then with this letter agreement that we have in front of you guys right now, then there would actually be costs associated with it, and you can see those as far as the hourly wages or hourly rates and so forth. And that would be the part, those would be the amendments to the document.
So they don't change every time, or they're not renegotiated every time?
No, they could change every year, yeah. They do change typically, because that's how they get their overhead covered and so forth.
Yeah, they cover a lot of stuff with our money.
Well, yeah.
Jose, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Other comments or questions from the council? A motion and a second to approve the consultant agreement with SEH. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a combination sewer cleanser truck for the wastewater department. And Jose again, please.
Hello. Okay, so this is what we colloquially call the jet vac truck.
Yeah.
Because it's a jetter and it's a vacuum as well. So we right now have a 2012 jet vac truck. It's a Super Products Camel 200 combination sewer cleaner, which is the actual correct lingo to use. And that was scheduled to be replaced with this the 2020 budget of the equipment replacement fund. We did contact us through Sourcewell. We contacted Sanitation Products to see if they would be willing to honor a Vector bid for a 2020 Vector 2100i combination sewer jetter for $406,000. Sanitation Products, which is a company out of Sioux Falls, has agreed to honor this bid from Vector through Sourcewell. At this point, the 2020 Equipment Replacement Fund includes a budget of $395,000 for this purchase. Typically, when we have a vehicle of this size and cost, we try and see if we can get a trade-in for the existing vehicle, just because of the contract that Vector has with Sourcewell. That's not allowed in this case. In previous equipment replacement options that we have done, it's actually allowed through their contract, but in this case we can't do that. So we are going to, in the future, after we receive this vehicle, then we're going to start the process of actually going out to sell this used vehicle on close bids. So any profits that would be generated through the sale of the existing vehicle at a later time then would be placed in the equipment replacement fund and used for other purchases. Administration recommends approving the resolution to purchase a 2020 Vector 2100i combination sewer jetter from the Vector's participating distributor, Sanitation Products, Inc. of Sioux Falls, at a price of $406,000.
Thanks, Jose. Council?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the purchase. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, bid openings, fuel quotes. Mike?
You should have in front of you, and I think up on the screen, first quote was for item 1, unleaded gasoline, Brunick service, $1.97. Item 2 is number 1 and number 2, dyed diesel fuel, Brunick's $1.97. Item 3, number 1 and number 2, diesel fuel clear, Brunick's is $2.23. Jerry's service on item 1 is $2.05. Item 2 is $2.10. Item 3 is $2.41. Stern Oil on item 1, $1.92.3. Item number 2 is $1.93.42. And item number 3, $2.21.07. Stern Oil will be the low bid on all 3.
Council?
Second.
Motion is second to accept the low bids. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 10, City Manager's Report. John?
Thank you. A couple weeks ago, we came to the City Council and you declared an emergency authorization for us to work on the Vermillion River waterline crossing. Just to keep you updated on that, we did receive the plans for that late last week. I believe staff is completing a review right now. We'll be sending that package out to contractors this week. We hope to begin construction before the end of the month. So that project is moving along. We do have 2 openings on our Planning Commission. One is a short-term Planning Commission appointment, so if you're looking for a short-time volunteer gig, this would be it, although we'd hope you'd consider staying after that. We have 1 term that will expire this June of 2000, and the second term would expire in June of 2022. So we do have 2 different openings that are available. We do ask all applicants, as we do with all other city boards and commissions, to complete an expression of interest form that is available at City Hall or on our website. We hope to have some applications for you to take a look at your next meeting on March 16th. A couple of meetings coming up this week are Historic Preservation Commission. They'll be meeting on Wednesday, March 4th at 9 a.m. in the large conference room here at City Hall. And then the Human Relations Commission is meeting on Thursday, March 5th at 7 p.m. And that's also here at City Hall in the large conference room. Paint South Dakota, it's a project through the South Dakota Housing Development Authority. They are again helping to do their Paint South Dakota project in June of this year. We need to, as a community, come up with 2 different options there. One is a volunteer group to paint a house. The second one is that we need to find a house that is a single family owner-occupied home in need of painting, and the owner should be physically or financially unable to paint the house. If we can put this combination together, we'd like to submit an application on behalf of our community. We do need to submit an application by April 17th so that we could be one of 25 communities across the state to have this program happen in June. So if you are meeting either one of those, let us know, and we'll see if we can put that together for the community this year. Included in your packet were 2 different raffle notifications. The St. Agnes Knights of Columbus, they apparently must have somebody doing paperwork here. They'll be selling $120 raffle tickets, and this is related to the NCAA men's basketball Elite 8, Final Four, and championship games. Those tickets, there's $1,500 in cash prizes in the balance, which is awarded based on the final score of those games. Proceeds from this raffle go to the church and school needs. This fall, the Knights will be selling $120 raffle tickets from May 1st to September 13th. This is for Monday Night Football. There's $850 in cash prizes available based on the score of the NFL Monday Night Football games between September 14th and December 28th of this year. Proceeds from this raffle will be used by the church, school, and youth group.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions for our city manager, council? Is it too early to announce when the regional meeting is here?
No, it is Thursday, March 19th, and had a couple of council members let me know if you were able to attend. I believe the program dinner is at 6:30, the program following that. We'll be hosting probably about 30 communities, I think, with the South Dakota Municipal League District 3 dinner meeting here in Vermillion on March 19th. So council members interested in attending, let us know and we'll get you signed up. We won't put you to too much work.
Thank you. Okay. Invoices payable. Comments or questions for Mike?
Move to pay our bills. Second.
Motion is second to pay our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Pay our bills. Consensus agenda, we have one item. Set a public hearing date of March 16th, 2020 for a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the USD Military Science Department on or about April 17th at the Munster University Center, second floor, large room for a military ball event. Motion is second to approve the consensus agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Steve? Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We were already past the 15.
Everyone counts in our neighborhood. Everyone here is a neighbor. You count too. Yes, you count too. Come on, neighbor. Everyone counts in Vermillion, yes. Everyone counts in the census. You count too. Yes, you count too.
Mr. Nate,
Well, hello, Chuck Coyote.
do I count in the census?
Of course you do, Chuck. You're living in Vermillion on April 1st. You're a neighbor. You count.
But I'm a full-time student.
Still, you count.
But I rent an apartment.
Still a neighbor. You still count.
G'day, mate. What about me? I'm on a student visa.
Our international friends all count too.
Fair dinkum?
But my parents in Brookings still claim me on their taxes.
Still, Chuck, you count.
But
Listen here, little buddy. You still count here, and every person we miss is like $1,600 less in federal funding for this community, and that hurts people and puppets alike. So just take this iPad, go to census.gov on March 19th, and fill it out. Everyone counts in our neighborhood. Everyone here is a neighbor. You count too. Yes, you count too. Be a good neighbor and fill out your census, friends.